So, the first of the Eightfold Path. So yesterday, we did a quick introduction to the Eightfold Path and what it's all about and things of that nature. Today, I'm going to talk about the first of the Eightfold Path, which is right view. But before that, I want to talk a little bit about how the Eightfold Path is divided up. As I said yesterday, it's divided into three parts. The first part is the wisdom part, which is right view and right intention. The second part is the ethical part, which is right speech, right action, and right livelihood. And the third part is the mental development part, which is right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. So, just as everything is a list, we're going to begin with the first part of the list, which is the wisdom training, right view. So in right view, it's really what we're talking about when we say right view is when you're starting anything, you need to have some reason for starting it. And the Buddha thought that if you had the right view, the reason that you would be starting the Eightfold Path is because you have accepted his diagnosis of suffering. And if you've accepted that, then you would want to come out of suffering in this lifetime instead of waiting and hoping that maybe you would be reborn into a body that doesn't suffer. So this is what the first part of the Eightfold Path is about. It's about practicing our understanding and our acceptance of the Four Noble Truths. So, when we have right view, we also have an understanding that this is a practice that is going to take us out of suffering. It is a practice that is also going to take a lot of work. There's a saying. There's a saying in Zen Buddhism is that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. But which is one that you hear a lot when you study Zen. But one that you don't hear as much, and I think is even more relevant, is that without suffering, a lot of us wouldn't have studied Buddhism. You know, I wasn't born a Buddhist. Most of the people that I studied with were not born Buddhists. But because our lives were unwieldy and painful and full of suffering, we came to the International Buddhist Meditation Center to learn something, a different way to do life. And right view is really about that moment, the moment where you decide that, okay, I've done this my way and it hasn't worked out. Things are still very difficult for me, and difficult in a way that I think I can do something about. So then you go and you start to wonder, and you start to wander, and you start to look. And for me, that search brought me to the International Buddhist Meditation Center. I had not heard of the Four Noble Truths, but as soon as I heard them, I understood what my problem was, which was that I was suffering because I didn't understand that there was no way to do life without pain. I thought that there was a way. I thought that if I worked really differently from the way I had been working, or if I did something, or if I worked really harder at the way I had always been working, eventually my life would be less painful. But once I heard the Buddha's diagnosis for all of humanity, which is life is simply painful, it just simply is, and that there's nothing you can do to do it right to get out of the pain, but there is something you can do to be able to accept that it's painful and still have a happy, fulfilling, compassionate, loving, kind life. I got it. I heard it and I understood that immediately. And that's what right view is. I'm not saying that I had right view. I was ready to start the Eightfold Path. The rest of the diagnosis I learned because I was supposed to, but all I needed to hear was that first part. You suffer, and then that second part, here's why. And then the third part is there is an end to suffering, which is the good news. And the fourth part, try this, here's how, changed my life. So that's what right view is. Right view is the acceptance that we are suffering, that the Buddha was correct, and that we are going to do this path, and we're going to get to where we need to be this way through this practice. This is Kente Wisdom. Thank you.